Canto 10, Chapter 48, text number 24. Sa tvam prabodhya vasudeva griha vatirnaha swangshena param upa netam ihasabhun matmomehe akshauhini shata vardena shuretarangsa Ragyam amusya kulasya rashovitanaha I think that's the wrong meter. We'll try this one. Sa tvam prabodhya vasudeva grahavatirnaha Samshena bharam upaneta mihasi bhumhehe Akshauhini shatavar padhena suretarangsa Ragyam amusha chakulasya yashovatanvaha Prabodhya Sena bharam apaneta mihasi bhummehe Akshauhini shatavardhena sureta angsa Musha chakulasya yashovitanvan Satvam prabodhya vasudeva grihe vatirnaha Vasina bharam apanetam ihasa bhummehe Akshauhini satavardhena suretarangsha Ragyam amusha chakulasya yashovatanvan Satvam prabodhya vasudeva grihe vatirnaha Swangshena bharam upanetam ihasi bhummehe Akshauhini shatavardhena suretarangsha Ragyam amusha chakulasya yashovitanvan Tvam prabodhya vasudeva grahe vatirnaha Swamchena bharam upanetam ihasi bhummehe Akshauhini shatavardhena suretarangsa Ragyam amusha chakulasya yashovitanvan Saha He Tvam You Prabho O Master Adhya now Vasudeva Grahe, in the home of Vasudeva, Avatirnaha, have descended, Swa, with your own, Angshena, direct expansion, Lord Balaram, Bharam, the burden, Apanetum, to remove, Iha, here, Asi, you are, Bhomehe, of the earth, Akshauhini, of the armies, Kshata, hundreds, Vadhena, by killing, Sura Ittara, the opponents of the demigods, Angsha, who are expansions, Ragyan, of the kings, Amusha, of this, Cha, and Kulasya, dynasty of the descendants of Yadu, Yashaha, the fame, Vitanvan, spreading. Translation, you are that very same Supreme Person, my Lord, and you have now appeared in the home of Vasudeva with your plenary portion. You have done this to relieve the earth's burden by killing hundreds of armies led by kings who are expansions of the demigods' enemies, and also to spread the fame of our dynasty. And the BBT purport here. The term Shuretarangsha Ragyam indicates the demoniac kings slain by Krishna were in fact expansions or incarnations of the enemies of the demigods. This fact is elaborately explained in the Mahabharata, which reveals the specific identities of the demoniac kings. So the circumstance is Krishna is in Mathura. Krishna made a promise to Akrura when Akrura brought him to Mathura from Vrindavan, please visit my home. And so Krishna is fulfilling that promise. Many things happen in between. Many things happen in between. Just to appreciate hearing some pastimes of Krishna. Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan concluded, according to our acharyas, when Akrura brought Krishna to Mathura from Vrindavan. At that age, Krishna was 10 years, 8 months. All those pastimes performed by Krishna were packed up 10 years, 8 months. When he went to Mathura, many things happened in the entry into Mathura, meeting the washerman, meeting the florist, meeting the weaver, meeting Kubja. Krishna made a promise to Kubja. Later he would meet with her, which he did when he came back. The dealing with Kuvalyapida, dealing with the wrestlers, dealing with Kamsa, relieving his mother and father from the prison of Kamsa. The verse says he was born in the house of Vasudeva. Well, he was born in the prison of Kamsa, which was acting as the house of Vasudeva at that time. But it can mean not necessarily the physical house, but in the line of Vasudeva. Establishing Ugrasena, also freeing him from prison, establishing Ugrasena again as the king because Kamsa had taken over his kingdom and put him in jail. So Ugrasena is again the king. King means the leader of the Yadu dynasty. Now the language here in the verse is our dynasty, and to spread the fame of our dynasty. Akura is in the same dynasty. Akura is in the same dynasty. His uncle is in the same dynasty. The line of coming from Yadu, or the Moon dynasty. Long history of the Moon dynasty. That's in the 9th canto. So they're in the same dynasty. After being brought together with his mother and father, Vasudeva and Devaki, they wanted him to do what young Kshatriya boys do commonly at the age of 11, as they undergo the sacred thread ceremony, Upanayana. So that was performed. Again, Garga Muni did the honor of giving mantra to Krishna and Balaram. And then they wanted him to go to school, because he hadn't gone to school yet. So it is said by our acharyas that Krishna selected the teacher. He selected Sandipani Muni for different reasons. And he went to school. He finished school in 2 months. He was a pretty good student. And then he saved the son of Sandipani Muni, who was in the court of Yamaraj. He brought him back, reunited Sandipani Muni with his son. And then Krishna returned to Mathura. So by this time he's 11 years, a few months old. And at that time is when he paid his visit to Akura and then to Kubja, back in Mathura. He's still young. Now it doesn't give how long he was in Mathura before this visit, but he's in the house of Akura, and Akura is honored, and Akura is also indicating his understanding of Krishna's transcendental position. Akura has already, because he visited Vrindavan, like others who visit Vrindavan, Akura is by that experience, is appreciating how elevated are the residents of Vrindavan. This is an important, very important dimension of our Gaudiya Vaishnava teaching. That is, pure devotees exist outside of Vrindavan, and those pure devotees that have some sense of the merit and the exaltedness of the residents of Vrindavan, they honor, they look up to the resident of Vrindavan as being superlative to them. Brahma, during the Brahma Vimohan Lila, he's also honoring the superlative position of the residents of Vrindavan. Slightly different than what Uddhava says when Uddhava visits Vrindavan. Uddhava says, "Let me be a blade of grass, so I may be touched by the dust from the feet of the residents of Vrindavan, specifically the gopis. Akrura says something similar, Brahma says something similar. Akrura is appreciating, so while those who are pure devotees outside of Vrindavan, they, the pure devotees outside of Vrindavan, are honoring the super excellent position of the residents of Vrindavan. Now one might wonder, why don't they just go to Vrindavan and associate with the Brijvasis and become like them? Because that's something we would want to do. And according to our teachings, that's what we would do. Go to Vrindavan. There's a nice verse written by Rupa Goswami, where Rupa Goswami is beginning to describe the process moving from Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti to Raganuga Bhakti. And with the very first thing that he says is, if possible, reside in Vrindavan. And if it's not possible, then mentally reside in Vrindavan. And appreciate those who reside in Vrindavan. It's his first verse describing the Ragamarg. So the Bhagavatam is also from those persons who are outside of Vrindavan, appreciating the uniqueness of the residents of Vrindavan, although they don't go to Vrindavan. They have a particular mood of love, and according to that mood of love, they're content, satisfied, and fulfilling desires of Krishna, because Krishna is complete. Krishna is everything, everything comes from Krishna. So those pure devotees that do not reside in Vrindavan, they're part of Krishna's pleasure. They exist for Krishna's pleasure. And they're nourishing Krishna's pleasure in different ways. This is rasa, or mellow, or the completeness of the source of everything, Krishna. So Akrura is one such person. And in his prayers, he's indicating Krishna's nature. I want to read, this is a very short report from our commentary by our acharyas, but it gives a hint about how to understand this morning's verse. Vishwanath Chakravarti and Jiva Goswami both comment on this verse in their commentary. Vishwanath writes, paraphrasing what Akrura is saying, "You have appeared along with your expansion Balaram, Angsa." It doesn't say Balaram's name, it just says Sva Angsa. So, along with Balaram, in the house of Vasudeva. Now, Balaram didn't appear in the house of Vasudeva. Balaram was transferred from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini. So he was born in Gokul, where Rohini was. But it's okay, because he was born in the house of Vasudeva in the sense that he was also their son. He was the seventh child of Vasudeva and Devaki. Why? To relieve the burden of the earth by killing the hundreds of Akshohini. That's a term for massive armies of the impious kings. Jiva Goswami writes, after this introduction, so this introduction is going back to text 17, there's a series of verses before we get to text 24. which he's calling an introduction. It's Akura citing the glories of Krishna. Now he's going back to text 17. Jiva Goswami writes, he returns to the present situation as mentioned in verse 17. Verse 17 is, I'll read it. Being of such greatness, again and again you appear in this world to establish the proper path. Again and again you appear in this world to establish the proper path. Again and again means Krishna's multiple avatars, spanning over not just Swami Bhagavan Krishna, but the many, many other forms of Krishna that appear in this world for the same purpose, annihilating demoniac kings. O Lord, full of powers, Prabhu, you appear in the house of the best Yadu, Vasudeva. He writes, Vasudeva can also mean one who shines, or Deva, with wealth, Vasu, with a wealth of bhakti. One who shines with a wealth of bhakti. In case you wanted to know what Vasudeva means. One who shines with a wealth of bhakti. That's a possible meaning, one of multiple meanings. So the BBT purport, this is most likely Hridayananda Maharaj. I say that because it's not in our commentary of Acharyas, but he's mentioning, there's a reference to Mahabharata in the purport. I'll read. The term Suratarangsa Ragyam indicates that the demoniac kings slain by Krishna were in fact expansions or incarnations of the enemies of the demigods. This fact is elaborately explained in the Mahabharata. You're starting to read Mahabharata. So the Krishna Dharma Mahabharata is kind of shrunken. It's, its essences. And the complete Mahabharata, which Hridayananda Maharaj was engaged in making an English translation, but he stopped. One of the reasons he stopped is scholarly people disagree on which is the real Mahabharata, which is the authorized, authentic Mahabharata. So he stopped. But one version of Mahabharata is very similar to what we are accustomed to hearing. That is, when the demigods approached Krishna, Mother Earth approached Lord Brahma, they approached the demigods went to Brahma, they all went to the shore of the Milk Ocean and offered prayers to Krishna to appear. He agreed. And he gave indication to Brahma that please tell the demigod that they should take birth on earth first to assist in my pastimes. We don't hear the rest, but in Mahabharata, the rest is detailed. There's a long description. Brahma then turns to the demigods and instructs them to appear on earth to assist Krishna in his pastimes. And then there's a list of who became persons on earth. And it starts with the sons of Aditi. Now the sons of Aditi span in time beyond the pastimes of Krishna, but that's what's in Mahabharata. Or lineages that come from those persons that are from the Deva realm, because Aditi is in the heavenly realm. Aditi is in the heavenly realm. For example, in the story of Narakasura, who was a demon on earth, it starts with Indra going to Krishna and appealing to Krishna, please check this Narakasura, because he came to the heavenly realm, he stole the deity's earrings, he took the umbrella of Varuna, and he stole a mountain peak that's filled with jewels and gold, and he wants to steal Airavata. So that's in the heavenly realm. A deity is in the heavenly realm. Krishna went with Satyabhama to the place where Narakasura was. He did what he did, defeated the Mura demon, he defeated Narakasura. He then was approached by the mother of Narakasura. The mother of Narakasura appealed to Krishna, please spare the life of Narakasura's son. And she gave to Krishna Aditi's earrings, the umbrella, the mountain peak, and requested Krishna to return all those items back to the heavenly realm. So Krishna went to the heavenly realm. He gave the earrings. He wanted to take the Parijata flower anyway. The point is, Aditi is in the heavenly realm, along with Indra. And we find from Brihad Bhagavatamrita that at least one of the places, there's more than one place, but one of the places where one of the younger brother of Indra resides as the worshipable deity of Indra in the heavenly realm, and that's Vamanadev. And he worships Vamanadev. So they're there in the heavenly realm. And there's their lineages that come into this world that span time beyond Krishna's appearance, going back in time. But the demons are, the Sanskrit word is angsas, which means expansions. And expansions can mean different things. But so it can mean they're just descendants. Descendants are also angsas of their forefathers. And then it says here specifically, the demons have their angsas. So here, in its references in Mahabharata, so here's the Mahabharata reference. And you'll hear many names, but you'll also understand that these many names span time, not just when Krishna was on earth and killing those persons, because many of them are before, but they're descendants. Aditi had a sister named Diti. This is just cut and paste from Mahabharata. But unfortunately, the sons of Diti were not godly. That's after the list of Aditi's sons. Rather, they were the most wicked of creatures. Diti had one famous son, Hiranyakashipu, who threatened the entire universe until Lord Vishnu appeared and killed him. And he begot 5 sons. The oldest was Prahlad. Then came Samhrada, Anuhrada, and finally Shibi and Baskala. Prahlad had 3 well-known sons named Virochana, Kumbha, and Nikumbha. Virochana's son was the uniquely powerful Bali, and Bali's celebrated son was the great demon named Bana. So Bana, the demons had descendants. Bana was a contemporary of Krishna, but there were others before Bana, but Bana was a descendant. Exactly what's being described in the BBT purport. I'm not going to read all the names, but I'll just cover the principle. Diti's sister, so there's Aditi, and there's Diti, but there's more than one, but there's a third sister named Danu, D-A-N-U. She had 40 famous sons. Her firstborn being King Viprachiti, of widespread fame, also known to be sons of Danu, are Sambara, Namuchi, Puloma, Keshi. There's others that we'll recognize from Krishna's pastimes. Long list. There's 40 names, sure enough. O king, there are an additional 10 sons of Danu who are celebrated for their great strength and stamina. In fact, they are considered to be the best of the Danavas. So when we hear Danavas, that means sons of Danu. So sometimes we hear there's, Rakshasas and Danavas. So this is the line that comes from Diti's sister, Danu. They're celebrated for their great strength and stamina. In this list, Pralamba is there. Naraka is there. Vatapi, we hear Vatapi's name in Ramayana, etc. O Bharata, the sons and grandsons of these Danavas are practically innumerable. Danu had another sister, and her name is Simhika. We know about Simhika from Ramayana. Simhika gave birth to a son named Rahu, who always harasses the sun and moon. Simhika's sister, Krura, had innumerable sons and grandsons who, being demonic by nature, cruelly cut down their enemies. The very name, Krura, means cruel, just like Akura is not cruel. Krura was Danu's sister, means cruel. And all the descendants of Krodha were known as Krodha Vasas, or the slaves of fury. Krodha had a sister named Anayu. 4 sons were prominent. The great Asura Vritra. Anyu's sister, Kala, or the Lady of Time, gave birth to prominent sons who were as deadly as time itself. They became highly celebrated in the world for their unusual strength, and among all the demons, they were especially known to punish their enemies. He gives their names. Okay, so there's more. Thus I have explained the origin of those bold and powerful demoniac beings known as the Asuras. So the Danavas are a subset of Asuras, but sometimes it's just listed. The Asuras, the Danavas, etc. So that's just an expansion of what's in the purport. And what's being said by Akura, assisted by our acharyas, is Akura's understanding the person who is visiting his home is the original personality of Godhead, same as what's in Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is a simplified version. There are 3 reasons why Krishna appears, age after age. Pritranaya sadhunam vinashaya traduskritam dharma sangstapanartaya. So Krishna, let's go back to text 17. because reference to that is made by Jiva Goswami. Here's text 17. So this is Akrura, he's receiving Krishna. Akrura said, this is the first part, "It is our good fortune that you two lords have killed the evil Kamsa and his followers, thus delivering your dynasty from endless suffering and causing it to flourish." So then he goes on to the next set of verses. "You are both the original Supreme Person." So he's citing their, Sambandha, who they are. He's really clear who they are. I mean, imagine what his feelings are, that the original person has come to his home. Who can imagine what that feeling is? And he's making it very clear that his understanding is right on, and there's a purpose of his appearance, which is what this verse is saying, to kill demoniac kings. And by killing demoniac kings, he's making the burden of the earth relieved, and he's adding glory to our dynasty. So our dynasty, one of the things that Prabhupada writes is, we wouldn't even know about Yadu, except that it's always spoken, Krishna's in the Yadu dynasty. We wouldn't know, he'd just be a name in history that we wouldn't know anything about. But we know about him, Yadu Nandana, because Krishna was in his line. Yadu Virya, he is the strength of the Yadu dynasty, and so forth. But Krishna makes the dynasty honored by his presence and doing what he does. Simultaneously, Krishna is adding glory to those who are connected to him. And he derives pleasure from doing that, and he derives pleasure when we do that. We honor those in connection with him. Krishna derives pleasure from that. Now there's, just make some short reference to Srimad Bhagavatam, giving us an indication that those who take part in Krishna's pastimes are from the Deva realm, and they make their appearance in association with Krishna. Here's 3. Uddhava, intimately associated with Krishna. Pradyumna, Krishna's first son. Bhishma, who is from the heavenly realm to take part in Krishna's pastimes. He was a Vasu. According to Canto 3, Chapter 4, Krishna speaks directly to Uddhava, indicating, "O Vasu, long ago you desired to take birth on earth and participate in my pastime, which is very rare to achieve, but I have granted it." Indicating, then the Acharyas expand, who was Uddhava before he was Uddhava? Well, the Acharyas explain, previously he was a Vasu. And then there's lots of detail. He was a Vasu as a vibhuti of the original Uddhava, who is an eternal associate of Krishna in the spiritual world in Goloka Vrindavan. In the Dwarka portion of Goloka Vrindavan, Uddhava is a Nitya Siddha, eternally perfect personality. And a vibhuti or partial expansion of him appeared as a Vasu. And the detail goes that the Vasus and Brahma were all engaged together in a big yajna, and the sankalpa, or the desire of that particular Vasu, who was Uddhava, he desired as the benefit that he would receive from the yajna to be part of Krishna's pastimes. So that benediction Krishna rewarded. So he, the vibhuti, or partial expansion of the Nitya Siddha Uddhava in the spiritual world, appeared along with the Nitya Siddha Uddhava as a cousin of Krishna. Arjuna was a cousin of Krishna. How is that? Because Krishna's father, Vasudeva, and Arjuna's mother, Pritha, or Kunti, were brother and sister. So they're cousins, first cousins. But Vasudeva had 9 other brothers also. And one of those 9 other brothers, Devabhaga, was the father of Uddhava. So a person who participated in Krishna's pastimes previously was in the position of a demigod, a Vasu. And by Krishna's desire, some of the demigods, and also by their desire, they took part in Krishna's pastimes. And there's a whole long story, which most of us know. The story of how Bhishma was around at the time of Krishna's pastimes. It looked like a bad situation. It was a bad situation. As a Vasu, there are 8 principal Vasus, and the 8 principal Vasus made a big mistake. Big mistake. Really big mistake. Actually, it was the wife of one of the Vasus named Dyo. She said, I really like this calf. Nandini was the name of the calf. Surabhi was the name of the cow. She wanted the calf. Can you get the calf for me? I have a girlfriend. Her name is such and such. I'd like to give her this calf as a gift. Can you get the calf for me? Can you steal the property of a Brahmin for me? He agreed. And then his brothers assisted him, and off they went with the calf. They stole the calf when Vasishta was not at his cottage. When he came back, he knew exactly what they had done. So he cursed them. They'll all leave the heavenly realm and take birth on earth. So they came back, appealed, we're very, very sorry, here's the calf back. He said, thank you for the calf back, but the punishment that was issued by me was fitting, for you're stealing the property of a Brahmana. So they were cursed irrevocably for taking birth on earth. They approached another personality in the heavenly realm, Ganga, and requested, Ganga, can you assist us when we take birth on earth, because Vasishta cursed us to take birth on earth? Can we be relieved of this curse by placing us in, by placing us in the Ganga on earth, and then we can return back to our Vasu position? Vasishta said, reprieve is you after you descend to earth, all of you can return quickly, but one of you cannot, and that's the one Dyo, the one who actually was the culprit to steal the calf. It wasn't his wife who was blamed; it was him. So he'll have to remain on earth for a long time. and he'll be without a wife and without children, and won't have all the pleasures of worldly life. But he'll be a great personality. So that was Vishishta. So when the 8th child, without all the detail, when the 8th child of Santanu and Ganga was born, Santanu stopped her. Don't throw that child into the river. She said, oh, our marriage contract was that you wouldn't say anything against what I do. So I'm leaving. And she left. She took the child. She trained the child. And then as a teenager, she brought him back. She gave his name. His name is Deva Vrata. Anyway, so this is an example of a demigod who took birth on earth to assist Krishna in his pastimes. There's one more example, but because of time, I'm not going to do it. And that is Pradyumna. Pradyumna had a vibhuti expansion. In Bhagavad Gita chapter 10, the Vibhuti Yoga chapter. It's one of the vibhutis mentioned by Krishna is Kandarpa, Cupid, of forms of lust. I am Cupid. That Cupid is a vibhuti of Krishna, but even more specifically, he's a vibhuti of Pradyumna, who is the original Cupid. And without all the details, because it's a nice long story, but Cupid, took birth by entering into the form of the original Cupid, who became Krishna's first son. So from the demigod position, he took birth in a manner that he could be part of Krishna's pastimes from the heavenly realm. There's other examples that the Puranas and Mahabharata, the Itihasas, are filled with histories that are very complex, but it's just summarized by what this one verse. The demigods took birth on earth, the demons, the enemies of the demigods took birth on earth, and Krishna annihilated the angsas of the demons who are enemies of the demigods. He finished them. And that's what's being honored in this particular verse. He and Balaram appeared for that purpose. 8:30. Let's see if there's some discussion. A lot of Puranic history this morning. It was a really short purport, so.
I have 3-4 questions, but I'll start with one. Appreciation that Krishna likes his devotee calling connected to his dynasty, Yadunandana. Krishna likes his devotees when the devotees call him by,
yes.
So like Yadunandana, Yashodanandana, Nandanandana. Now is there any, and I was appreciating that how different devotee, Bhishma Dev, Akrura, Uddhava, everybody calls Krishna by this name. And gopis also call Krishna by this name. As well as coward boyfriends and coward girlfriends also call Krishna by this name. But how this name become more and more condensed when it goes from one level.
Don't speak slower, please. How what?
How this name or calling Krishna Yadunandana or Yashodanandana or Nandanandana become more and more condensed as we step from one devotee to other devotee to other devotee to other devotee. Because Bhishma Dev also called Yashodanandana or Nandanandana. But it's way different than Rajavasi calling Yadunandana or Yashodanandana. Am I correct?
Their mood is different. The word is the same word, but the feeling is different. And from our Gaudiya perspective, everything is about rasa, and that rasa is expressed by feelings. So the feeling is different. That's just like we chant. We can say the name. It's not the same as the Brijbasi is saying. The name has the potency, but our experience is different.
Also, I was appreciating about the Danavas. I was never knowing this thing, how Danavas and Asuras. Danava came from Danu, and which is one of the expansion of Asuras. I was never knowing that. And thanks for clarification. My question is, Bhishma Dev, Akrura, Brahma, and the other devotees, they praise the super excellent pastimes or the uniqueness of Vrajvasis. Now, is there any categorization where Bhishma Dev feel more intense? How can I put this? Is there any categorization where Brahma is more elevated in identifying Krishna with Vrajvasi, Uddhava is more elevated, or Bhishma Dev is more elevated? Is there any categorization like that?
Yes.
Who is more elevated?
Uddhava. Why? Because of his intimacy of love for Krishna.
And
that's right. It's intimacy of love. It's not from the position from which he came. It's the intimacy of his love.
Okay, thank you. And last question. As you told that all these devotees feel content with whatever rasa they have with Krishna because the main goal is to serve Krishna.
Yes.
Is there something not like that, that they are feeling happiness and that's why the reason they are fulfilling the desire of Krishna? Because if there is no reciprocation from Krishna...
You're speaking really fast and I can't follow. Your mind goes fast, your mouth is going fast, and I can't follow either speed. You got to slow down. I'm a slow guy.
Yeah. So, as you told that devotee feel content with whatever rasa relationship.
Yes.
But is this something not like that because they are getting pleasure in serving Krishna, and that's why they feel more serving to Krishna? Because
they feel what?
They are getting some reciprocation from Krishna, and that's the reason they have desire that, okay, let's make Krishna happy.
Yeah.
But if there is no reciprocation from Krishna, then there will not be any
happiness.
Or not be any service. They would never feel that. So
yeah. What you're saying is very simple. Krishna is everything, and they're part of everything, and they're part of Krishna's happiness, which is everything. And so they're not standalone happy, they're in relation to Krishna happy. And because their wish is Krishna's happiness, that's Krishna's happiness. And he reciprocates with their regard for him, which is part of everything. Is there a limit to the variety of happiness that Krishna can experience? And no. And is each one part of that unlimited happiness? Yes. And their happiness is Krishna's happiness, but their happiness would not be experienced without what you're saying is, without Krishna bestowing that happiness upon them. And that's true. The living entity is a fragmental part of Krishna, and Krishna is unlimited happiness. So the tiny fragmental part, happiness, is because of the relationship with Krishna. Or say it negatively, without the relationship with Krishna, there isn't happiness.
Of course, there is some happiness with Gnani feel, even if they're not connected to Krishna.
And there's no happiness there. It's not even, it's a semblance of, it's a Mayic form of happiness. It's, denial of the material suffering. That's the best the Gyanis can get. It's not this. The best they can get is Brahman. And there's not positive happiness in Brahman. There's not Ananda in Brahman. It's the happiness of cessation of material misery, which isn't the positive state of happiness. The Ananda portion of Krishna's Swarup Shakti is not accessed by those who enter into Brahman.
So, will the Vrajavasi stop serving Krishna if Krishna does not respond toward that service attitude?
Well, that's a hypothetical if Krishna doesn't respond. But Krishna responds. Everything is a relationship, right? We had that discussion yesterday. You have something?
Yes, Guru Maharaj. One of the things that I like very much, is fascinating, is in the third canto, the whole breakdown of the descendants and the tree of, in the universe. You explain here, when you read the Mahabharata, that these all are sisters of Aditi, Diti and Aditi. There were other sisters.
Yes.
Not necessarily married to Kasyapa Muni, right. I assume, but they were daughters of Daksha, I assume.
Yes.
And one thing is how so many of them populated the universe with demons, which, you read that whole list, which is quite something to understand,
Yeah. On ladies' side, anything?
This particular verse where Akura's understanding that Krishna had appeared particularly to wipe out the demoniac persons that were in those ruling positions and that had been kind of disturbing the Yadu lineage. This understanding that he had, it seems that that understanding must also have been there through his serving King Kamsa, because clearly that's not the most comfortable position, having been Kamsa's minister. So I guess I'm wondering and thinking that his having this understanding that he's expressing in this verse must go all the way back to his role he was playing in serving Kamsa. Would that be correct? That it made his role more bearable?
I'm not sure what you're... Are you indicating that because all of this descends from Krishna, that makes it more bearable that Krishna killed Kamsa? No, that's not what you're saying.
That Akura was able to play his role as minister of King Kamsa, having this kind of understanding that King Kamsa, along with all these Danavas, would be annihilated by Krishna. So therefore him playing the role where he's serving King Kamsa is more bearable to him because he knows that Krishna is actually going to be killing Kamsa. and the Danavas.
Do you understand what she's asking? I'm looking at your husband. I think a short answer is if I've understood the essence of what I've understood from what you said, the answer is yes. But I'm not sure I've understood. Akura has knowledge. He knows stuff that most people don't know.
Yes, so he have all what he's expressing here. If he have this knowledge back when he was serving Kamsa, then that knowledge itself will make it the whole thing make sense to serve Kamsa and to stay in that position being this demon.
Yes. Did he get it? Okay. Yeah. I mean, there's other reasons. He knew that Krishna would kill Kamsa, etc., 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 etc. He knew what's in this verse. He's appeared for this purpose, and he'll kill. Step 17. He killed Kamsa to relieve the burden of the earth and to glorify the Yadu dynasty. He knew that back. And he also knew, as many of the Yadu dynasty members knew, you don't cross Kamsa, you're dead. So he served Kamsa because many of the Yadu dynasty members fled. He stayed because he knew he would get the chance to see Krishna. That was why another reason, a major reason why he stayed. So when Kamsa called him to go bring Krishna, he was very happy. He was very happy because that's one of the main reasons why he stayed. To bring Krishna to kill Kamsa. Because Kamsa was such a demon, a terrorist. Who's going to stop this terrorist? Krishna. If I get to bring Krishna and I get to see Krishna, he'll kill Kamsa and I'll see Krishna. Very good. He made his mistake. Anyway, without all those details, later he made a mistake, big mistake. Anyone else? Srila Prabhupada ki? Jai.